As years went by, the world began to know Ethan not as a janitor or a consultant, but as the man whose heart spoke a language everyone understood, compassion. Then one afternoon, during a global conference, Victor introduced Ethan to the audience of thousands. There was a time, Victor said, when I believed success meant never bending down. But then, a janitor taught me that true success means lifting others up. The crowd rose in applause. Ethan stood beside him, tears glistening in his eyes. The cameras flashed, and for a brief second, the janitor who once mopped the floors stood at the top of the world, not because he sought glory, but because he never lost his goodness. After the speech, Ethan looked toward the ceiling lights, imagining his late wife smiling down. He whispered, "We made it." Beside him, Lily, now grown and confident, squeezed his hand. "You did it, Daddy." Ethan shook his head gently. "No, sweetheart, we did it." And that, dear listener, is what life is truly about. Not power, not wealth, but the courage to stay kind when the world gives you every reason not to be. So before you go, remember, whatever floor you're cleaning today might be the same floor where you rise tomorrow. Never give up, never lose your light, and make sure to subscribe for more stories that remind us that miracles begin with humility. The end. Who had access to these files? Silence filled the room. Marcus tried to hide his smirk, but it was too late. Ethan continued the meeting flawlessly, correcting the errors and winning back the investors' trust. The Chinese CEO laughed. "Now this is the man you should be promoting," he declared. The room erupted in applause, except for Marcus, whose plans had just burned to ashes. After the meeting, Victor faced the board. "You wanted proof? There it is." Not only did Ethan save the deal again, but he also uncovered sabotage. That's integrity, something money can't buy. The board members lowered their heads, some out of shame, others out of fear. Marcus was dismissed that same day, his greed exposed before everyone. That evening, Victor invited Ethan and Lily to a quiet dinner at his mansion. For the first time, Ethan saw the billionaire not as a boss, but as a man who carried the same pain, the loss of family, the weight of expectations, and the hunger for redemption. Over dinner, Victor admitted, "You reminded me of my father. He used to say, 'The strongest men are the ones who kneel to help others stand.' I forgot that until I met you." Ethan smiled softly. "And you reminded me, sir, that not all power is cruel, sometimes it's just waiting to be used for good." Before I continue, don't forget to subscribe if you believe in second chances, because this story isn't just fiction, it's a mirror for anyone who's ever been underestimated. Months passed and Helix Corp transformed from a cold empire into a company driven by purpose. Ethan became the head of cultural communications, bridging language and humanity across borders. His humility inspired employees at every level. But the greatest joy of all came the day Lily received a scholarship to the city's best school, fully funded by Victor Lang. "She deserves the future her father dreamed," Victor said warmly. When Ethan tried to thank him, Victor only replied, "Don't thank me. Thank yourself, you earned it." And one evening, a massive opportunity came knocking, a Mandarin negotiation meeting with a Chinese conglomerate that could expand Helix Corp into Asia. Victor wanted Ethan there, not as an interpreter but as a representative. "You'll speak for the company," Victor said firmly. "You've earned it." Ethan's heart raced. "Sir, I'm honored, but I don't know if I can." Victor placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've already done it once. Trust yourself." What neither of them knew was that Marcus had already planted seeds of betrayal. He leaked false information to the Chinese partners, making it appear that Ethan's translations from the previous deal contained critical mistakes. The day before the meeting, Victor was summoned to an emergency board review. "Lang," Marcus said coldly, "your janitor's brilliance just cost us credibility. Our contacts claim his translation was full of errors." Victor frowned. "That's impossible. Ethan doesn't make mistakes." Marcus smirked. "Then prove it. If he fails tomorrow, you'll step down, and so will he." That night, Ethan sat in his small apartment, exhausted, unaware of the storm brewing above him. Lily noticed his silence. "Baba," she asked softly, "why are you sad?" He smiled faintly. "Sometimes, sweetheart, when life gives you a chance, people will try to take it away. But do you know what we do then?" She tilted her head. "What?" "We smile and keep walking, because truth doesn't need to shout, It just needs time. Lily hugged him tightly. You'll win, Daddy. And in that hug, he found strength stronger than any fear. The next morning came heavy with tension. The board gathered like vultures in the conference room, while the investors tuned in via video from Beijing. Victor and Ethan entered together, calm but sharp. The meeting began with Mandarin introductions, and soon Ethan was translating with precision and grace, his tone confident yet humble. The Chinese CEO on the other end smiled. Your interpreter is excellent, he said. Much. The next morning, the golden sun rose over the city like a promise, but in the cold halls of Helix Corp, whispers had already begun spreading like smoke. The janitor who became a consultant. The single father who spoke Mandarin that even native executives couldn't match. The story ran wild through every floor, twisting and stretching with jealousy and disbelief. Ethan, now dressed in a simple white shirt and borrowed tie, walked into the building not as a janitor but as a professional. Yet behind every polite smile he received, he could feel the unspoken judgment, the eyes that whispered he doesn't belong here. He ignored them. His focus was on one thing, doing his best, not to prove the doubters wrong, but to prove to his daughter that dreams could resurrect from ashes. Lily's laughter echoed in his heart like a song of courage. And though the world had changed overnight, Ethan remained the same humble man who once mopped these floors, except now, he carried a folder instead of a mop, and hope instead of resignation. But high above, the boardroom was boiling. Victor, one director snapped, you can't just promote a janitor. What message does this send? Our investors will think we've lost our minds. Another added bitterly, you're letting emotions cloud your judgment. The man doesn't belong at this table. Victor Lang sat silently for a moment, staring out the window at the city skyline that once meant everything to him. Then, turning to the board, he said in a calm, cutting tone, what message does it send? It sends the message that talent is everywhere, if you're humble enough to see it. The room went silent. But behind those silences were smirks and shadows of betrayal forming. Unknown to Victor, one board member named Marcus Hale had plans of his own. He envied Victor's authority and saw Ethan as the perfect weakness to exploit. Marcus secretly plotted to sabotage Ethan, to prove that compassion was bad for business and that the janitor's rise would end.